Next on the Broadway Show, A Strange Loop. Pulitzer Prize winner Michael R. Jackson joins us to chat about his meta musical. Plus, in good company, Matt Doyle is on the show to take a walk through his stellar Broadway resume and life after Schitt's Creek. Noah Reed is here to talk about making his Broadway debut. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway Show. We are always excited to bring you another amazing episode of the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. We are on the road to the Tonys, and the nominations are in. So let's take a look at some of this year's nominees. In the Best Musical category, the nominees are A Strange Loop, Girl from the North Country, MJ, Mr. Saturday Night, Paradise Square, and 6. Up for Best Play, The Lehman Trilogy, Hangmen, The Minutes, Skeleton Crew, Clydes. In the Best Musical Revival category, nods go to Caroline or Change, Company, The Music Man. In Best Play Revival, the nominees are American Buffalo, For Colored Girls, How I Learned to Drive, Take Me Out, and Trouble in Mind. And take a look at this year's most nominated musicals. A Strange Loop leads the way with 11 nominations, followed by MJ with 10. And with 8 nods, The Lehman Trilogy is this year's most nominated play. For the full list of Tony nominees, head over to Broadway.com. A Strange Loop is now on Broadway. It's already a Pulitzer-winning work. Now the musical, with the book, music, and lyrics by Michael R. Jackson, is eyeing Broadway's biggest prize. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
That's right, Tamsen. In his 20s, Michael R. Jackson was an usher at The Lion King who dreamt of writing his own big Broadway musical. Now he's done just that, as the big black queer and Pulitzer Prize winning A Strange Loop has now started performances at the Lyceum Theater. We sat down at the Time Hotel to talk all about it.
Like all those black gay boys I knew who chose to go on back to the Lord. All those black gay boys I knew who chose to go on back to the Lord.
This is a over 20 years in the making moment.
Yeah, just about.
How does it feel when you go on a journey like that? It feels like it's sort of very incremental though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because the piece started off as a monologue that I wrote when I was like 22, 23 years old. And at that point, I certainly was not thinking, oh, next step, Broadway musical. That wasn't my mindset at all. It was just a personal thing for me at the time. And then as I began to write music and then put that in the monologue and it started to take shape, it was just a story that I was chasing. I was trying to capture a certain experience kind of in a jar. And it wasn't until after we got to Playwrights Horizons and it got the sort of acclaim it got that it suddenly began to feel possible that something like Broadway could come after that. But but I would be lying if I said that was what I had been aspiring to the whole time.
The truly groundbreaking things, I feel like when they're written by the people who come up with them, they don't feel like I'm writing a Broadway show.
Right.
They're just sort of writing from the heart. And I feel like that's very much what this was.
Yeah, and also, I had ushered for many years at the New Amsterdam Theater for Lion King and then Mary Poppins and then Aladdin. And I saw Broadway up close. I also did a brief stint flyering for Rock of Ages on the TKTS triangle. And so I just seen that up close. I was like, there's no way in hell that like my show with all my little dirty words and black, gay, this, that, and the other was gonna be on the great white way. I was fine with that. Like I had made peace with that, but so that's why it's so surreal that, somehow there's been a shift in the culture and I'm able to step into that spot. Even though while I was ushering, I was like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. It also taught me to really appreciate lots of different people and to want to write something that lots of different people would want to come and see, even though the show is about a very specific experience. So I'm really grateful for those years, even though at the time I did not see the value in it.
What I love about your show is that it's very relatable. It's very specific to, I'm assuming, your life. I mean, when you know A Strange Loop, I feel like I know you really well.
Yeah.
How accurate is that?
I mean, that's the thing, the trick of A Strange Loop is that it's an illusion. But an illusion that doesn't mean that it's not real. I did draw from personal experience to write the show. I felt everything that Usher has felt, so I would call it emotionally autobiographical, but it's not a one-to-one ratio of my life, in part because I wrote it over such a long period of time but Usher stays 25 going on 26. I'm 41 now. I have grown, I have changed. I'm an artist, and I made an artistic expression of pain that somebody else can take and use that for whatever they need to use it for. And that means a lot to me.
It's your last chance to see the critically acclaimed revival of For Colored Girls on Broadway. The show is nominated for a Tony for Best Revival of a Play. Let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
That's right, Tamsen. I sat down with Camille A. Brown here at the Civilian Hotel to chat more about pulling double duty for this vibrant production. As someone who has been able to both direct and choreograph for Colored Girls, you're the first Black woman to do that in more than 65 years. What does that mean for you and your legacy? That's huge.
Yeah, it means a lot of things. I mean, I think it opens the question of like, why did it take so long for a Black woman to do that? And the first one was Katherine Dunham who did that. It's taken over 60 years for a Black woman to do it. So I didn't think it was possible, and you know, I'm hoping that I will get another opportunity to do it. So right now I think I'm still processing everything and just trying to allow it to wash over me and just celebrate the people that helped me put it all together. I think everything that I've done before has led me to this moment, and I think this was really, now that I was asked to direct and choreograph this time, it was really about what I wanted to say with the show and what my vision was, so I really tried to focus on that.
As a woman of color who is just absolutely killing it, what's it like to work so closely with 7 women of color telling their stories of survival and being able to do so for an audience who may or may not be familiar with the story?
I mean, it's great to have space with them during the rehearsal process. I mean, you can't act sisterhood. I mean, I guess you can, but it was really important for us to hold space for each other in the rehearsal, and then that would connect on stage, and hopefully people would feel that, and they are feeling that, which is great. And for people who don't know, they're gonna know. So, you know, that's how it feels. Like it's about what is the show for? It's for Colored Girls, and it's an opportunity for people who may not know to be invited into a space that they may not know, but we will learn from it, hopefully.
Yeah, For Colored Girls for so long has just been a story that's been impactful throughout the culture for forever. What do you think makes it so relevant as someone who's been so intimate with that production for so long?
Well, my mom told me to never let anyone take my stuff away, and she's been telling me that since the beginning I was born. I think because of that, it just helped me to think about persevering whenever I have self-doubt. And she told me a couple years ago when I choreographed the 2019 version that she got it from seeing this show. So, you know, it has, to me, it's symbolic for many reasons because it helps me to continue to push forward. It's about sharing your pain, but sharing joy too, and being in a safe space to do that with your sisters. So I think that's why it's meaningful to people.
Phone rings, door chimes, in comes Company. The revival of Company is up for several Tonys this year. The musical stars Patti LuPone, Katrina Lenk, and Matt Doyle, who's nominated for a Tony this year. Let's check back in with Paul Wontorek.
That's right, Tamsen. Before wowing audiences in Company, he built an incredible resume. Today, I'm walking through the career of Matt Doyle with Mr. Matt Doyle. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
You're on Broadway. You're still in
Broadway.
Company.
I'm still in Company.
It's a long gig.
It's a very, very long gig. It's been about 2.5 years since I first booked this job, so I am so thrilled to still be working.
But now you're in the time of award nominations.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's been a good season so far.
It's a good time for Matt Doyle and Matt Doyle fans. So we are at Lincoln Center.
Yes,
This is the Vivian Beaumont
My
Theater.
favorite theater in New York.
Is it?
Yes, this is my favorite theater in New York.
This is your favorite theater in New York.
So it was such a thrill to be able to do Warhorse here, which was a very, very different show for me. I did a play instead of a musical.
Big play.
It was the most incredible experience because I got to meet Marianne Elliott, who's the director of Company.
Right.
And I got to work with the most remarkable puppets I think, in the world, which were the horses in Warhorse and the geese and all of these other things that we were puppeteering. And it was just, you know, with all of the musicals I've done, I don't think I've done a spectacular on that level in terms of the production. It was massive.
Right.
And to do it in this theater on a thrust stage like that in the Vivian Beaumont was so, so special.
It was such a experience for the audience.
Yes.
To experience these puppeteers creating these horses. But for you, you saw the technical behind it.
Yeah.
So were you removed from that, or were you still able to sort of get lost in it?
Very attached to them. I remember being devastated leaving the show, leaving the puppets, and having an emotional connection to them and riding them every night. It sounds so ridiculous that this thing made of twine and wood would have such an emotional effect on me, but I was so sad to leave them, as if I was losing a pet. It was really, really strange.
And you were Billy?
I was Billy Narracott. I was like the bad guy in this. I was like the little jerk who was so mean to his cousin and then died very, very dramatically. Shot in the head. Affected my hearing on this side.
Really?
Yes, because of the gunshots every night. So don't say you don't sacrifice part of yourself for theater.
The other thing that's unique about this theater is it's nowhere near the rest of Broadway.
No, it is very far away. We've got a bit of a journey to get to the other theaters.
Yeah, so we're gonna head downtown to the theater district.
Yes.
This is on the upper end of the theater district, and
Yeah.
we're gonna talk some more. So let's do that. Hey, look. It's the Stephen Sondheim Theater.
The Stephen Sondheim, previously known as the Henry Hudson Theater.
Right.
We were the first show reopening
that's right,
this theater.
That's right. It was like a renovation project, huge renovation project.
Doing Bye Bye Birdie, the
Bye
revival of
Bye
Bye Birdie. It was a wonderful cast. I got to work with John Stamos and Gina Gershon, and we had the time of our lives. It might not have been a hit, but we were having
it's
so
like it
much
should
fun.
have been a hit, but it wasn't.
I know, it was a short-lived run, but we were so close backstage. I felt really taken care of there and learned a lot of really great lessons from everyone.
And you were Hugo.
I was Hugo Peabody.
And you got to sing the telephone hour.
I got to sing the telephone hour,
number.
and I got to sing a bit of One Boy as well. They gave me a couple verses to that as well. It was so wholesome and fun, and coming off of Spring Awakening at the time, it was one that my family could actually come to. My grandparents were like, "We get to see you in something," and
something
so they
very
had the time of their
Broadway.
life. Yes, it was
Bye
very
Bye
Broadway.
Birdie.
Yes.
Can't get more Broadway than that.
Oh, it's like still to this day my grandmother's favorite show that I've done.
So Matt, this is a very important theater in your history, actually. Let's start with the fact that you made your Broadway debut right here, and you probably walked through that door.
I did. That was the first.
Became a Broadway star.
This is the first stage door I walked through. 19 years old, and got the call that I was being added into the company of Spring Awakening, and it was a big hit at the time already. It was March right after they had opened, and I spent 2 years of my life in this theater doing the run of that entire show, and it was a learning experience. It was, I was thrust into this phenomenon, and I grew up so much during that process and learned so much about who I was as a performer, and learned how to be a professional actor because it was my first professional gig.
Yeah.
It was a really, really incredible ride and launched my entire career.
You had a good look back then.
I did.
You had a look.
I had a look. I had shaggy hair. I was rail thin. I think I weighed 120 pounds when I was cast in the show. I was such a little kid when I was cast, and I look at pictures now and I'm like, I was Bambi. I mean, literally Bambi. I'm afraid for that person and walking down the street. They made sure that I really became a leading man while I was here. I had to cover one, and I had to cover one of the best, which is Jonathan Groff. He was such a great role model to have at that age.
And then you got to return
I got to
here
return.
And a leading role in the Book of Mormon,
And
Elder Price.
I took over Leah Michelle's dressing room. I returned here, and I was 25 years old when I was cast in that part, and just got to sing in the rafters every night, 8 times a week, and it was a perfect showcase for, I think, my voice at the time, and also just getting to try out my comedic chops in a leading role at the time was really, really fun. It's really, this theater out of all the theaters feels like home to me. I know that, I know every inch of this theater, every dust bunny in this theater.
Yeah. Okay, Matt, we're at the Jacobs.
Yes.
We're ending our tour here. This is
Yes.
your home.
This is
your
my home right now.
Away from
my
home.
dressing room is right next to that O up there, and
fun fact.
I know.
Right next to the O.
That's
Okay.
right next to the O, and it has been my home for a very long time. It sat there all throughout the pandemic and untouched. I mean, I came back and we had to like dust everything off.
Phone rings, door chimes, in comes company.
I'm so jealous because I love this music so much.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing that you get to sort of live in it every night.
Yeah.
And of course, the great Stephen Sondheim, we lost him
Yes.
during this run. I mean,
Yeah.
he was in the theater just a few days prior.
Just a few
to his
days
death.
prior,
Yeah.
He was giving us notes just a couple nights before, and I did not anticipate that chapter of this journey. I don't think any of us did. I was just so happy that Steve got a chance to come back and see this production and see all the work that we had done, giving a standing ovation to literally every number. He was always the best audience member. So he is the best audience member that the Jacobs has had and that this run has had for sure. I was always just so thrilled to see how much he just enjoyed watching his music and his work grow. And he didn't want his shows to become museum pieces.
Right. And that's what's so exciting.
Yeah.
And that really leads to this production
Yes.
of Company. It was the quintessential 70s swinging bachelor musical.
Oh, yeah.
And now Bobby is the fabulous Katrina Lenk, female Bobby.
Yep.
And you are Jamie,
Yes.
who used to be Amy.
Yes.
And Amy was a female frazzled bride.
And now I'm a gay male frazzled groom.
Yes.
And Jamie kind of feels like the culmination of everything in my career and everything I am and everything I've ever wanted to bring to the stage. And I'm so proud to be able to tell this story, especially right now when we're in this time where things really do feel like they're starting to regress a bit, to be able to just represent a character that so many people can identify with and so many new audiences can identify with.
And it's fantastic to get to not only get a fantastic role on Broadway,
Yes.
but also
Yes.
get to do something that means something.
Absolutely. I just think
in your
about the
personal
kid
life.
that I was growing up and what he would have thought being able to see a couple like this in a classic Sondheim musical.
There's still a lot more to talk about on this edition of The Broadway Show. From Schitt's Creek to center stage, Noah Reid joins us to talk about his Broadway debut in the minutes. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show. Thanks for staying with us for this latest episode of The Broadway Show. So glad you're here.
You're simply the best, better than all the rest, better than anyone I've ever met.
We fell hard for Noah Reid as David's partner and husband in Schitt's Creek. Now he's making his Broadway debut in the minutes. That's why he's this week's fresh face.
I'm Noah Reid, and I play Mr. Peel in the minutes. The theater has always been a huge part of my life. Toronto has an amazing theater scene, and I grew up going to lots of theater, and early on decided that it was something I needed to be a part of. I think I did my first play when I was 6. I played Oliver, and then my first professional play was when I played Chip in Toronto's production of Beauty and the Beast. And it was during that rehearsals for that show when I first came to New York with my mom and, wardrobe fittings and seeing the show. And that was an incredibly special experience, to kind of enter into New York in a behind the scenes way as a kid. Probably difficult to overcome that. My parents were probably like, oh God, this kid's gonna wanna do this forever. I got a phone call from my agent suggesting that being a part of this play, The Minutes by Tracy Letts, was a possibility. Tracy's work speaks for itself. He's one of the greatest, if not the great American playwright of our time. My wife and I both read it and we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, I mean, if this can happen, we gotta find a way for it to happen. I love being able to shift gears creatively, and the Amazon show Outer Range is such a gear shift for me character-wise and tonally, and then to be in this world of The Minutes is such a totally different character and a different way of storytelling. I think both of those projects really kind of speak to the American identity.
But you got me, and I get you you get me.
And the music for me has always been a place where I get to just say what it is that I want to say, whatever's going on in my head. I'm really drawn to projects that have something to say. You know, every so often I have to check in with myself about whether or not I have anything to say, and music seems like that's the place where I can do that.
Welcome and bienvenue. Welcome.
Cabaret was a fun thing to do on Schitt's Creek because I knew I didn't have to be good. Because it was Patrick, it wasn't me. I know I didn't have to be the MC. That would be insane. Of course, now the Minutes is happening at Studio 54, where Alan Cumming, you know, did that part so brilliantly. I think I would have trouble following in those footsteps, those dance steps. You know, it's not really a strong suit of mine. So I'm terrified of musicals, but I love to watch them.
No way you're never gonna shake me, ooh darling, 'cause you'll always be my baby.
I guess I hope that people who, you know me from television will come and see this show. From my own perspective, I love to see plays. I love to see people who I know from television or film on stage because it puts them in real time and real space. You know, I think there are probably some similarities between Patrick and Mr. Peel in that they both want to be seen as like nice, good guys. Hopefully people who come expecting Patrick will get a little shock to the system.
Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. It's your chance to help us celebrate the best and brightest stars of Broadway. The nominees are in, and voting is now underway for the Broadway.com Audience Choice Awards, the only major theatrical prize awarded exclusively by the votes of you, the fans. Some of the categories include Favorite Musical, Favorite Diva Performance, and Favorite Breakthrough Performance. And guess what? It's not just for Broadway shows. There's a big prize for our national tours, too. That means theater fans in New York and all over the country have the chance to help us celebrate Broadway's biggest stars and best shows. Cast your votes right now at Broadway.com. This is The Broadway Show, and we're back in just a few. And that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.